My Forest is Not Your Garden. It's a collaboration between me and Donna, and we've created an installation at the Watermore here. It's really a combination of research that we have done over the last few years, and we kind of come together to present this experience as a form of installation. And then you can kind of walk through all these different layers just around the Watermore. So they kind of really come together in a very magical and strange way at the same time.
I think we're both interested in this idea of nature and how people see it and how they record it, how they document it, how they present it.
The title talks about how it always has been an exploitation, how the landscape and nature has always been given a utilitarian view, not just a statement talking about colonialism, but it's been throughout. It's been, even today, it's just happening in a kind of a different form that we kind of don't really associate it with utility or kind of abuse. Yeah.
We just use these things without thinking, about the real forest or how it actually is like, having a juxtaposition between the forest, and which is seen as this wild place and this unknowable place, and then the garden, which is something that is in a way knowable. It's has boundaries around it. It's domesticated. It's you can sell it, commodify it. You can understand it.
You can see in Donna's installation, it's really, it looks green, but it's a highly manufactured and controlled green to look like a green that we are comfortable with, and there's nothing natural about it at all.
The work that I'm interested in is archetypal landscape, and recently I've just been concerned about the tropical forest. And the reason is because the tropical forest aesthetics is something that I'm surrounded by in Singapore. We have tropical forests there, but yet at the same time, the images that we see of the tropics is not what I'm familiar with. And even in Singapore, the tropics that we are familiar with is not exactly like the real forest itself. So I'm interested in how these images come about, and a lot of my work deals with this idea of tropical cliches, the tropical aesthetics, where it comes from and where it's going, and its influences as well as its consequences. So I work a lot with old images, like tracing back colonial images, lithographs, 18th, 19th century lithographs. I also visit various tropical, artificial tropical gardens and things like tropical landscapes in zoos, in botanical gardens. And I'm just interested in how these aesthetics just carry on from these colonial images right into contemporary society. And we're still perpetuating these aesthetics and these images. The exotic is something that it's something that's very seductive. We want to believe it's real. We look at tourist brochures, we look at these images, of beautiful locations, and we know that the location is not going to be like that. But yet at the same time, we want to believe that's real.
In my work, I kind of try to layer different periods in which we have engaged with the landscape, and you kind of condense them all into a single plane, and then you kind of realize actually it's just different ways that we have control this space around us, and although Singapore is a green city, it's very ironic because green, which is nature, which is natural, I think for me nature is this thing that defies all authority. But Singapore is a state that is about control. As each project, sometimes there will be an opportunity to present the work like a scientific lecture because of the information that I have, or sometimes it needs to look as if an expedition has taken place, so I adopt some kind of look that the scientists or Natural History Museum will have. Science is really just a way to interpret things around you, and it seems objective, but it could be very highly subjective at the same time. And I think colonialism was kind of a science. It's kind of driven by science, but a very biased science that is meant to contain and control. I'm interested in basically how humans relate with nature, and I try to look for stories and narratives in my research that can talk a bit more of this relationship. And also, I'm interested in how we often use science to interpret nature, but I believe there are many other systems of knowledge or other ways we can actually interpret nature. How do we maybe be more aesthetic or be more emotional, or how do we look at other ways to think about nature, or maybe art can be this other way for you to sense or experience nature.